Hello beautiful people, on this tutorial I'll be teaching you how to achieve the skirt part of this dress. This outfit is broken into two different videos, so this particular video is to achieve the scallop design on the skirts. On this project I'll be using this damask fabric of 3 yards. It is so beautiful. I'm going to be using this Mikado fabric of 1 yard. Next, I'm going to be using this satin, bridal satin of 1 yard, dollface satin. And lastly, I'll be using this 2 nets of 5 yards. I'll be using a matching zipper for it, and also I'll be using a matching bias as well. I'll proceed in drafting the front pattern. So I have 2 lines on my pattern paper. The first one is my starting point, which is my waist region. Then I calculated 9 inches downward, which served for my hip region. Then for my hip, I also calculated 5 inches downward, and then I will connect the lines. So I have 3 horizontal lines. Now I'm going to be imputing my measurements. So my waist divided by 4. The value I get, I will impute it there. Now for my hip measurement, I will take my hip divide by 2, which is 19.5. Then I'm going to subtract 1 inches from that 19.5, giving me 18.5. This pattern is on fold, so I'm going to divide it by 2, giving me 9.25. That is the hip measurement I'm using. Then I also extended it to that 5 inches extra. What I'm doing here, I'm connecting all 3 lines together. Next, I'll be taking my dart measurement. Now, the reason I took 1 inch away is because we have the bum at the back, so the front is different. You can't take the same measurement for the hip. So for my dart intake, I use my bust span, and then the length I use 5 inches. Next, I'm taking ½ inch on both sides to connect my dart legs. Now this dart I took in, I'm going to replace it, that is 1 inch over there, and then connect it to the line, as you can see, so there will not be any shortage. Now I'm going to extend my dart legs all the way to that 5 inches extra from the hip. So after getting this done, what I'll be doing next, I'll be forming the scallop shape. I'm going to be taking 1 inch away from my center front, and then at this 5 inches extra I extended my hip line. I'm going to take 1 inch downward. Now I'm going to connect both lines with a curve rule. Next, what I'll be doing, I'm going to measure the distance and then impute it in at this other part, and also form the shape to give me a half circle. So this is the shape. Next, what I'll be doing, I'm going to be taking 1 inch away from that point, and then at my seam line, which is the side, I'm going to go downwards by 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect these 2 lines using my curve rule as well to give me this shape. So the scallop shape is formed. Next, I'm going to be altering the waistline because the natural waist is not straight, so I went downward from the center front by 0.75 inches, and then I went upward from the side by ½ inch, and then I'm going to connect these 2 points using my curve rule as well to give me this shape, so that it will fit perfectly at the waist region. Now I'm going to cut out this part marking out, so I'll just end up cutting it instead of marking, so I don't confuse you with so many points. So I'm done cutting this part. Next, I'm going to be cutting out the scallop shape. Next, what I'll be doing, I'll be closing my darts. This is depending on individual preference. You can sew your darts, but I love sealing it up from the pattern. Now I'm going to be cutting my pattern on my fabric. My fabric is on fold, as you can see. I'm using the Mikado fabric, and this point is the point on fold. So I'm going to place it like so that I have extra at the side. So I've gone ahead to mark this point. I gave ½ inch upward and 2 inches at the sides and ½ inch below. Next, I'm going to proceed in cutting it out. So after cutting it out, I'm going to remove the pins so that you're going to see it how it looks like when it's open. So this is it. I'm going to cut the same thing for my lining using the doll face satin. So I've gone ahead to cut it out. This is the lining part. So I'm going to be placing right side facing right side. Now I'm going to be sewing only the scallop shape. That is what I'm going to sew all through. So I'll meet you when I'm done. So I'm done sewing it. I'm going to notch all these points so that by the time I'm turning it over, it will lie smoothly. I'm done notching it, and then I'm going to flip it over. So you're just going to take your time to flip those points and bring out those edges properly, and then iron. So this is how it looks like. Next, I'm going to be drafting the back pattern. So now I already have my waist region, my hip region, and that extra 5 inches extra that I did for the front part. So this other part is my zipper part. Now, to get a perfect shape, from my center back, I'm going to go inward by 0.75 inches, and I'm going to extend it to my hip region. Now I'm going to start all my calculation from this 0.75 inches I took. So firstly, I'm taking my dart intake, which is my nipple span, and then this time around my dart length is 6 inches. So I'm going to be taking half inch on both sides and connect the dart legs. Now I'm going to take my waist measurements. I'll be taking my waist measurement starting from that point, that is that 0.75 inches. So after taking the waist measurement, I'm going to impute my dart intake as well. So next is the hip region. So for this hip point, like what I did explain, after dividing my hip measurement divide by 2, now you know for the front we minus 1 inch. So now this back part, I'm going to add that 1 inch extra and then divide it by 2. So whatever value I get, I'm also going to extend it to that 5 inches extra, and then I'm connecting all 3 lines together now. Next, I'll be taking my zipper allowance, and I'll be using 1 inch for my zipper allowance. So from that 0.75 inches I took inward, I'm going to be marking 1 inch all through to the end. Now, I'm still going to extend my dart legs the way I did for the front parts. So now I'm going to take 1 inch from my center back, and then I'm going to take 1 inch downward and then connect it with a curve with the help of my curve rule. So the same thing I did for the front pattern is what I'll be replicating for the back. So I'm going to take the distance, the measurement, and then also impute it on this other part, and then also continue the curve the same way I did for the front part. So at the side seam, I'm going to go down by 1 inch, and then from that other point, I'm going to go inward by 1 inch and then connect the curve as well. So this is it. I'm also going to shape the waist region the same way I did for the front. So I'm going to go for up 1/2 inch from the side seam, and then 0.75 inches from the center back, and then connect it together. I will also extend it to my zipper allowance. Now I'll proceed to cut it out. So after cutting it out, next I'm going to be cutting out the scallop shape. So when I'm done cutting it, I'm going to cut this pattern on my main fabric and the lining parts. So this is my zipper part which I'm indicating. So when I cut, I'm also going to add the necessary allowance at the side and the hem part and at the waist region. Now I'm going to join the back and the front. So I've gone ahead to do everything the same way I did for the front to that of the back. Now I'm placing it right side facing right side. So I'm going to be joining the side seam. So in joining the side seam, I'm going to be using the Mikado fabric of the front and Mikado fabric of the back. I'm placing them right side facing right side, join them together, and then the lining as well, I'm going to join them together. So at the end, we have a perfect finishing. So this is it after joining. This is the front side, and this is the wrong side where the lining lies. So as you can see, it's neatly finished. So this is it. I'll be proceeding to the gathered skirt effect. So this is my damask fabric. I've gone ahead to cut a flare, half circle flare. I have a detailed tutorial on how to do that. Now for my waist region, because I'm going to be gathering it, I made it in such a way that it's ×3 of my waist. So I'm going to be gathering that waist region. Now for the down part, I'm going to be using my bias to turn it over. So I've gone ahead to gather it, as you can see, and I've also turned it with my bias. So what I did here, I used matching thread for the main background, which is cream color, so that it matches the front, even though the bias is wine color. That is the back part of it. So I've also gone ahead to cut this doll face satin in a flare shape as well. This will be my third layer when lining up the 3 layers together. So I've cut it in flare. I didn't add extra to the waist, just my waist region plus the zipper part. Now this is the second layer, which is my tulle knit. So I cut the desired length, which is 2 inches shorter than the damask. So these are two tulle gathered together. So there are 5 yards each, making it 10 yards altogether with the desired length. So I'm going to be joining the 3 layers together. So firstly will be my damask, and I'm going to gather it in such a way it will get to my hip measurements, including the zipper part, hip measurements. So the next layer that will be following the damask will be my tulle knits, and the third layer will be my doll face satin. So I'm going to show you how it looks like, and this is it. So this is the 3 layers joined together, the doll face, the tulle knit, and the damask. So I've gone ahead to interlock the the doll face, and also the 3 layers at the top region. This is to make it not to frill up. Next, I'll be joining the upper and the lower part of the skirt. So this is the upper part of the skirt, and this is the lower part. Now, the reason why I said you should gather the lower part to your hip region is because we are going to be placing it in such a way that the sewing will start from the highest point of the scallop, that is the curve, the highest point of it. So the upper part is directly on top of this lower part. So I'm going to follow the scallop as I illustrated with my hands earlier. So I'm going to take it to my machine and then follow that scallop all through, and I'm sewing it on top of the lower part of the skirt. So you're going to do this very carefully and straighten it as you are sewing to avoid it from being rumpled at the back. So I'm done sewing it, and this is how it looks like in front, and this is how it is at the back. So now you can go ahead to join the zipper allowance part and add your zipper. And if you're making this into a skirt, before you add your zipper, you will have to create your band at the waist region. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm making this into a dress, and I don't want the video to be so lengthy. This has already taken a lot of time, and I want to explain the upper parts in detail, so I'll be creating a different video for it. So if you've watched this far, please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are yet to.